You have never heard a troll described with such elegance, such severity, such detail as when Jordan Peterson talks about the Lulz culture in this clip. And what this clip actually taught me is when you actually learn not just words, but when you learn, like, say, what a narcissist is, right? All of a sudden, you're able to see the narcissist. When he starts talking about the Lulz culture and its sadistic nature, it really exposes some stuff to you. Because to a younger person, or even to yourself, when you don't know much of what's going on, you're just like, well, that person's a jerk. Or I don't know, but this guy's just a troll. But when you actually understand to the point that he does, the description and what they are and the impact they can have, it becomes so much broader. So this is episode 1933. It's Joe Rogan Experience, Jordan Peterson. Let's get into it. Really, really great clip.
Wealth around. So that's Machiavellianism, narcissism, and psychopathy, dark triad. They've expanded that recently to add another dimension that was missing, sadism. And the sadist takes positive delight in causing pain to others. And the Lulz culture, L-U-L-Z, the Lulz culture online is a culture of sadistic, Machiavellian, narcissistic psychopaths.
Lulz, meaning like people are joking around shit posting.
Yeah. I did it for the lulz, and it's the plural of LOL, laugh out loud. But like if you look at the Urban Dictionary, for example, the definition of lulz is positive delight in the suffering of others. It's like, yeah, it's sadistic. And bloody well, social media just facilitates like
I never thought of lulz as being sadistic.
It's in and of itself, it's not a sufficient marker, right? You have to have like 6 or 7 things going on before it's clear that you're manifesting this underlying tetrad of personality traits. Like if you use the odd acronym and you're throwing out a joke at someone, this is a habitual pattern of doing nothing but provoking people online and using deception and lies to do it to attract attention to yourself. It has to be a very consistent pattern. But Paulos, first of all, and his crew of researchers and people who've been influenced by him have laid out this 4-dimensional structure of the dark side, let's say. And they've shown that hyper users of social media, Instagram, for example, and people who do a lot of anonymous shit posting are characterized by, what would you call it? Domination by those 4 traits. And part of the reason for that, this is very, very dangerous to our whole society, I think, is that you got to ask yourself what keeps the psychopaths under control in the normal population. And the answer seems to be, especially on the male side, is that narcissistic aggressive men get put in their place by non-narcissistic aggressive men. And that usually has to do with something like the threat of physical intervention. You know how it is if you get a bunch of guys together. I can make a joke about you, and I could even make a joke that was that sort of put you down. But the joke would have to be funny. You'd have to have the opportunity to reciprocate, and you'd have to believe that I was doing it in good spirit. Because if I just used the opportunity to, stick the knife in, we're not going to get along with each other very long. And we know that, and men know that when they talk to each other. And so part of what keeps dialogue among men civilized is the possibility that it won't be civilized if it goes too sideways. And everybody knows that. But there is none of that online because anybody can post anything about anyone, no matter how denigrating and derisive, especially if they do it anonymously. And there's zero consequence. In fact, quite the opposite. If they're good at it, they get a lot of attention and the social media companies will monetize it. And so not only is it not inhibited, it's actually facilitated. And this isn't a trivial problem because if the psychopaths multiply enough, they take the whole society out. So I think virtualization enables psychopathy. And it's worse than just the trolling bit. That's bad enough because it pollutes political dialogue and it makes everyone think that everything is more unstable than it really is. But online criminality is actually a terrible plague. I don't think there's an old person in North America who isn't being targeted by some gang of psychopaths who's, documented all of their interests and their locale and who knows how much money's in their bank account and who's doing everything they possibly can at every second to leverage access to it. That's just happening continually. So
well, that's certainly algorithms, right? For a lot of people that get trapped into these sort of situations where people are constantly throwing at them things that are opportunities for them to either make money or get this or
get
avoid
a refund
pain.
or
Get a refund.
You bet. Or they befriend them. You know, they get it in, and some lonely old character who's not functioning cognitively quite like he used to. You know, he gets sucked in by someone pretending to be his friend and offered a great investment opportunity.
Yeah.
And it's very, very, very difficult to track this sort of thing online. So you get the real enabling of the criminals, because how the hell, if they're anonymous, how the hell do you keep them, you know, how do you hold them to account?
Man, that's that one thing that he said that's really telling. And I've said this before. I've said this to friends. And I've had like certain friends that are like a little wildly disrespectful at times, and it's always the friends that haven't been punched in the face, that haven't been beaten up, that haven't gotten roughed up a lot, you know? It's usually guys who don't have like older brothers. Like I got 2 older brothers. My older brother, if I got too out of hand, he would hold me down and he would spit in my face. I know, it's crazy. That's what he would do. He would just hold me down and he would spit. He'd let it hang. He'd be like, you went too far. You went too far and now this is your punishment. So often when I would talk to him when I was younger, I'd be like, yeah. I would keep things in check, or at least batten down the hatches enough that if things got violent to that extent, I could defend myself from that assault, because it was disgusting. But it's usually the friends who don't have older brothers. I've often said that they conduct themselves as though they are awarded the same rights as females, because I don't believe in hitting females. You don't do that. You don't hit a lady, right? No matter how out of control she's getting. I mean, if she has a knife or something, yeah, you got to defend yourself. But for the most part, you don't hit women. And a lot of guys nowadays feel like they're afforded that same right. Like, you can't hit me. You can't touch me. I've never been touched before, so you can't do it. And that's not a good place to be in, I think, as a guy, because you get very disrespectful, you know, and it's needless most of the time. And it's only because you feel as though you're untouchable. And then on the other side of that, the most respectful people that I've ever met are always the people who do martial arts. Always the people who regularly go into situations where they got to spar and they're getting punched in the face a little bit. They're getting choked out. Those guys are always the nicest. They're always the most respectful. And you feel like you have no choice but to respect them. Not because they can beat you up, because it's like they are just so respectful to you and nice to everybody that it's like, this is a great guy. Why would I disrespect them? It's fair. I've always noticed that. I've had a friend where I'm like, I had to tell him, like, you're not a lady. Like, you're talking very recklessly and you need to control yourself, you know? And it's just funny that he actually mentioned the same thing, because I've seen that in life. I've seen that in life so many times where I'm like, that guy's never been punched in the face. Like, you can tell, like, he needs to get knocked around a little bit. You need to understand, like, you know, and again, I know there's some women watching. Yeah, maybe you don't want to listen to this. I don't know, but it's true. You need to know that when you're in conversation with another man, if you're a man and another man, that there is a chance that if you are too disrespectful, that this man is going to say, I'm done talking because the way you talk is too much, and now I want to fight you. You've stepped over too many of my boundaries. You've demolished my boundaries, and now I have to fight you in order to feel better. And that is the world of men. It really is. And in a way, I guess it should be, because it kind of keeps us all respectful. Like, they always say a armed populace is a polite populace, or a polite populace is an armed populace. This is stuff like that, you know? Like, I think they say that in, like, Texas. Like, everybody's super nice to each other in Texas because every guy has, like, a gun on him or a rifle in the back seat. Like, you know what I mean? Never been there. I'm just, that's what I picture. I picture, you know, that guy. What is the guy? You know, the Looney Tune with the guns. I picture him in Texas. But yeah, it's very true. I just had that realization. But aside from that, what I was talking about before, how when you understand things on a higher level, like Dr. Peterson does, you really are able to spot things. Because normally all of us would just say like a troll is a dick. The person's a dick. They're just a jerk. They're just some ass online, like whatever. But when you understand the word sadistic, when you understand the psychology behind it, when you understand those traits that he's talking about, like narcissistic and all these different things, when you understand all of that, and then you see a troll, then you're like, oh, this is a sadistic person. They're enjoying this. This is actually really messed up. This is psychopathic behavior, you know? So I only say that to say it's so important to learn things, to learn terms, and to learn the literature behind those terms. Like, how many times, I don't know about you, I've been in this situation many times where I learned something, like, perfect example, I learned what a narcissist was not even that long ago, maybe like 10 years ago. I learned what that was. And then all of a sudden I had flashes in my life of every single person that was a narcissist. I was like, oh, that's what was happening. You know, like I didn't know what to call it. I couldn't put my finger on it. It was distressful. I felt manipulated. I felt tricked all the time. I felt horrible all the time. And I didn't understand that I was dealing with a narcissist. Whereas now that I know the term and I know how they act and I know the traits, now when I deal with one, I can go, oh, this is narcissistic. I'm going to distance myself from this person. I'm not going to entangle myself emotionally with this person because they're showing me that they're a narcissist. I can see it, you know? It's really, really valuable. You know, listening to Jordan Peterson so much as I have over this like past month and a half because of making all these videos, it's really shown me how important education is. I have never valued it on the level that I should. You know, I've always been able to just be a good speaker and be somewhat of a good writer, but like there are levels to this shit. and I really feel like it would do us all better, society better, if we all just got on a higher level of understanding when it just came to words and concepts and different things like that. Because then also it makes you hold yourself to a higher standard. Like when you know what a narcissist is, when you know what the word manipulation is, when you know what that does to people, all of a sudden, those are now words and traits that you want to stay away from in your own character. And it's only because you understand it. So it really makes me wonder sometimes when people are narcissistic, when they are manipulative, when they are like Machiavellian, as Jordan Peterson talks about. It's like if they understood those words and those concepts and the effect it has on people, maybe they would stop doing it. Maybe not, but maybe some of them would. Some of them would be like, oh, I am a manipulator. I should stop doing that. You know? Oh, this is narcissism. I shouldn't engage in narcissistic behavior. I shouldn't do that. Yeah, it really makes you think. But yeah, again, check out this episode. It's 1933. It's a great episode. I mean, Jordan Peterson just said the word shit post. Come on. Anytime he swears, it like blows my mind. He also says dick somewhere in this episode. I'm not even playing that part, but you can find it. I'll tell you, where is it? I'll even where at an hour and 15 minutes. You watch at an hour and 15 minutes and you'll hear some wild stuff. Absolutely wild. But there's a link in the description of the podcast. Go and check it out. You will not be disappointed. And I'm out. Peace.